Welcome to Voice of Niger TV Daily Newspaper Review, where you get the insight of both local, national, and international newspaper front pages.
Good morning to our esteemed listener out there. I am Fatima Abdullahi Mohammed, and I welcome you to another edition of Voice of Niger TV Newspaper Review. Here with me, I have the Vanguard Newspaper, I have the Tribune Newspaper, I have Blueprint Newspaper, I have the Punch Newspaper, and I also have international newspapers. Remember, today is 10th of April 2022, and what I'll be giving you are just the headlines. If any of the headline catches your attention, to go to the nearest vendor and get a copy of the newspaper and get through to the details.
Alright, let's begin with the Blueprint Newspaper. And from the Blueprint Newspaper, I have the following headlines. 2023 Presidency, Fayose, Dino in war of words over Atiku and Saraki. It has two riders, Nigeria's presidency, not Pomo Amala. That's coming from Eli. You are a political harlot, hashtag hush puppy politician. That's coming from Fayose, and you can get that from page 7 of the newspaper. I will never sleep with producers to get roles. That's coming from Halima Yusuf Atete. You can get the full story from page 17. PDP tickets, Atiku, Tambuwal, Saraki, others, don't scare me. That's coming from Hayatuddin, and you can get that from page 19 of Blueprint Newspaper. Edo Court jails 57-year-old man 14 years for raping 7-year-old girl. You can get the full story from page 9 of Blueprint Newspaper. As Adebayo Khalid Kaigama cast doubt on 2023 polls, you can get the full story from page 5 and 6. Fuel subsidy, a bone in federal government's throat. That's coming from experts. You can get it from page 16. 2023, as younger Nigerians agitate, who is a youth? You can get the full story from page 15. And above the nameplate of Blueprint, I have a headline saying, most of Nigeria's problems are caused by the elites. That's coming from PAN. You guys got the full story from page 26 of the Blueprint Newspaper. That's all I have for you from the Blueprint Newspaper this morning. Alright, right now I have the Independent Newspaper, and from this newspaper I have the following headlines. Food crisis. Stakeholders blame corruption on poor policy. You can get that from page 2 of the newspaper. Amechi declares for president, vows to tackle insecurity and unemployment. You can get the full story from page 5, and from the picture we can see Chibuike Rotimi Amechi, Minister of Transportation, from the second right, with Dakuku Peter Side, former Director General and CEO Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, from the second left, and other supporters racing round the track to greet the crowd during Amechi's declaration to contest the 2023 presidential election at the Adoke Amisiaka Stadium in Port Harcourt, Rivers State on Saturday. Alright, let's move on to Bode George wants PDP as governors insist on Southern presidency. You can get that from page 2. Federal government blames system collapse for blackout. You can get the full story from page 4. Oil theft, Nigeria's long nightmare. The full story can be gotten from page 3. And air fire calls for mercenaries disturbing. That's coming from analysts. You can get that from page 2. And above the nameplate of Independence, we can see APC primaries. I'm not afraid of Tinubu, Osibajo, and others. That's coming from Yahaya Bello. You can get that from page 6. SIM-to-NIN linkage, federal government deactivation order diversionary, says experts. That's coming from page 3. Don't allow people you chased out return to power, Lawan tells Quarant. And that story can be gotten from page 31 of Independent Newspaper. That's all I can give you this Sunday morning. The newspaper right here with me now is the Leadership Newspaper, and from Leadership I have the following headlines. Return APC to power in 2023, Lawan begs Nigerian. You can get the full story from page 10 of the newspaper. 38 houses collapsed, 302 others destroyed in Niger windstorm. You can get the full story from page 6 of Leadership Newspaper. UTME 175,000 candidates sit for 2022 JAMB mock test. And the full story can be gotten from page 9, and we can see a headline boldly written as 2023 presidency. NEC to decide as Southern PDP governors insist on zoning. You can get the full story from page 4 of the newspaper, and it has two riders. Governors reject autumn committee's recommendation on open contest. Anyim Obi Ohuabunwa and Nagweze form alliance of Southeast presidential bid. Yes, I said you can get the full story from page 4 of Leadership Newspaper. That's all I can give you from Leadership this morning. If any of the headline catches your attention, do go to nearest vendor and get a copy of Leadership Newspaper and get through to the details. From the Nation newspaper, I have the following headlines. 2023, Amechi joins race as Osibajo ends consultations. It has about 4 riders. VP may make stand known as early as tomorrow. Electoral Act, APC will not flout law. That's coming from spokesman. Analysis, Amechi and implication of Section 84, subsection 12. Elect responsible leaders irrespective of age. That's coming from Bankole. Presidency debunks rumor of another London trip for Buhari. EFCC challenges court order to release Obiano's passport. Gunmen abduct commissioner's wife, daughter in Plateau. You can get that story from page 7. 2023, the battle for government house to part 3. Yeah, you can get that from page 18 to 22 of the Nation newspaper, and it has about 3 riders: Lagos, Enugu, Sokoto. And above the nameplate of the Nation, we have these headlines: Presidency, PDP Southern governors, Southeast aspirants insist on zoning. You can get that from page 5. And finally, from the Nation newspaper, vandalization of power lines caused electricity grid collapse. That's coming from Minister. That's all I'll be giving you from the Nation this morning. Right now, I have the Telegraph Newspaper, and from the Telegraph Newspaper, I have the following headlines. 2023, Southern PDP governors insist on presidency. You can get that from page 2 and 20 of Telegraph Newspaper. It has 2 riders. We will ensure Southeast candidate emerges. That's coming from Anyim Obi and others. Chikwas Okere zone may lose out of presidential tickets. Boldly written, we can see insecurity while killings persist in Northwest Central. That's coming from residents, and we can get the full story from page 4 and 5. It has about 4 riders. Government weak in tackling menace, says Khan Chair Hayab. ASU, ruling class liable for attacks. Autumn, we are in worse situation. Nigeria has collapsed under Buhari. That's coming from ECWA president. Alright, CBN approved acquisition of links. MFB, you can get that from page 7. Ocean 2022, I'm still in race for governorship. That's coming from Adeleke. You can get that from page 30. Terrorist kidnap wife, daughter of Plateau commissioner. You can get that from page 6. MPA redeploys 9 GMs, 12 AGMs, and TAs. You can get that from page 5 of Telegraph Newspaper. And above the nameplate of Telegraph, I have 2023 Amechi Bakare join race to succeed Buhari. You can get that from page 3 and 30. 175,000 candidates seek for mock UTME. You can get the full story from page 6. That's all I have for you this morning from the Telegraph Newspaper. If any of the headline fascinates you, to go to nearest vendor and get a copy of the Nigerian newspaper Telegraph and get through to the details. Alright, let's move on to the Vanguard newspaper, and from the Vanguard newspaper I have the following headlines. Tinubu Osibajo divides Southwest governors. You can get that from page 6. Amechi declares bid not to fulfill personal ambition. You can get that from page 5, and we can see a photograph where we can see Minister of Transportation Mr. Rotimi Amechi from the top left acknowledging cheers from the mammoth from the crowd, and Mr. Peter Side the Kuku from the second left, among others, when Amechi declared his presidential bid during Rivers State's All Progressive Congress APC Thanksgiving service in Port Harcourt yesterday. And Abuja Chief Imam sacked for anti-Buhari sermon fights back. You can get that from page 19. Igbo President Peter Obi and Yim Ohabunwa launch consensus talks. You can get that from page 8. I will succeed Buhari. That's coming from Bakari, and you can get the story from page 30. And above the nameplate of Vanguard, APC primary, I am not afraid of Tinubu Osibajo orders. That's coming from Yahya Bello. You can get that from page 5. Yemi Ogunbi at 75. It's sad the country I knew no longer exists. It has a rider. My father almost shot for hiding 17 Igbo during civil war. You can get that from page 13. My Benin prison story. If you want to know about the Benin prison story, that's coming from Sunday Igboho. Go get the Vanguard and move to page 8 of the newspaper. Train attack. How mortuary attendant broke chilling news of my husband's death. That was coming from widow of Kwara TUC chair. You can get that from page 12. That's all I'll be giving you this morning from the Vanguard newspaper. Lastly, from the Nigerian newspapers, I'll be giving you Daily Trust newspaper, and from Daily Trust I have the following headlines. How Buhari resolved APC crisis in 2 weeks, while insecurity festers. That you can get from page 5 and 6. It has about 4 riders. Attacks on communities now daily occurrence. Terrorists killed many soldiers. Orders as ruling party palace. Shows similar seriousness in tackling security. Nigeria's free to air their views. That's coming from presidency. Zamfara moribund varsity operates from primary school. We also have presidency crisis looms in PDP as Southern governors insist on tickets. You can get that from the page 4 of Daily Trust. Bandits take over Taraba villages, forcefully sleep with housewives. This is serious. If you want to get the full story, go to page 6 of Daily Trust. 2023, Amechi declares for presidency, vows to tackle Nigeria's challenges. You can get that from the page 4. And Obasanjo wanted third term, why it did not fly. That's coming from Delhatu Seriki Tafida. If you want to know why it did not fly, kindly go to page 10, 11, and 12 of Daily Trust newspaper. 2023, children of top politicians just to fit into parents' shoe. You can get that from page 36 of the Daily Trust newspaper. That's all I'll be giving you from the Nigerian newspapers this morning. If any of the headline fascinates you, do go to the nearest vendor and get a copy of the newspaper and read the full story. Alright, let's move on to the international newspapers. And here with me I have the Sunday Times, and from this newspaper I have the following headlines. Sunak's wife escapes number 11 goldfish bowl. Javid, I was a non-dom for 6 years but now pay my full share. The 12-year-old girl among child victims of railway station massacre. Schools to get advice on uniform for trans pupils. That's all I'll be giving you from the Sunday Times this morning. Here with me I have the Independent newspaper, and from this newspaper I'll be giving you the following headlines. Johnson's face-to-face with Zelensky. More questions for Sunak on family's finances. That's all I have for you from the Independent newspaper. And lastly, from the international newspaper, I have Mirror. And from the Mirror newspaper, I'll be giving you the following headlines. Corey Simons quizzed by cops after Buzzy entry. Boris flies to Kyiv for talks with Zelensky. That's all I'll be giving you from both the international newspapers and the Nigerian newspapers this Sunday morning. If any of the headlines fascinates you, do go to the nearest vendor and get a copy of the newspaper and read the full story.
Alright, we've come to the end of today's edition of Newspaper Review from Voice of Niger TV, and I hope you enjoyed the newspaper review. Please don't forget to kindly subscribe to our channel and also follow us on our social media platforms. Your host, Fatima Abdullahi Mohammed. Good morning and to enjoy the rest of your day.
At Voice of Niger TV, we keep you updated with news, information and entertaining content. Kindly subscribe to our channels. Twitter at Voice of Niger TV1, Facebook at Voice of Niger TV, Instagram at Voice of Niger TV, YouTube Voice of Niger TV, and also our official website www.voiceofnigertv.org.ng.